You're navigating Stanford through just an extraordinary time right now. You put out a really powerful statement last week. And for those who haven't read it, I encourage you to go read it. We've linked it to the notes in this podcast. But I think it's important for us to first understand the origin of that statement. And it's something that you mentioned, but why did you decide to write it?
So great question. Really, it was prompted by my discussion with our student athletes, specifically our Black student athletes. I had done an internal memo to our staff and our student athletes, just reflecting on this issue of just racial justice and what happened with the unfortunate murder or killing of George Floyd. But at the same token, our student athletes came to me and woke up, like, I think it was Monday morning, and they said, Bernard, we need to hear your voice even further. And it just can't be in an internal memo. And so we really want to hear your voice. And so I said, you know what, let's meet, let's get on a phone, let me hear you out. It was a very enlightening conversation. And I said, by the end of the day, I will have something out. And so that's what was produced. And, I got some help to just get the words right in my mind. But the main thing was just, I didn't have the answers. I still don't have the answers, but the dialogue, I want to be part of the dialogue. And so now we've had some great discussions internally with our staff, with our student athletes as a follow-up. And so I'm looking forward to what lies ahead, at least for Stanford and hopefully across this country.
Yeah, there's incredible depth in that statement that you made. I'm curious for you, what was your first experience with racism?
Well, I have to think, going back, I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, and I recall, playing pickup basketball and walking back to my house, which was just a couple blocks from the court. And I remember somebody, driving by, rolling down the window and just yelling out something derogatory. And I was like, why me? Why that? I didn't do anything to that person. But like I said, there's been, subtle reminders, and there's been some that have been more overt, but yet still you try to keep confidence and, like, I know what I'm about, I know what I'm going to do, and I can't let that hold me back from doing what's right. So, but yeah, I remember at a young age, I've had subtle reminders as well of things that came up with it just didn't seem right.
Bernard, something you just said, I think, gets at the heart of something that's really important for people to understand. I think it's easy to look from the outside, and you're sitting there at the top of your profession. They look at this incredible resume and bio that you have. And obviously the first thing that comes to mind as an outsider is not the awful or negative experiences you've had in your life because of the color of your skin. So how do you navigate that? I mean, you mentioned kind of how you approached it, but, like, truly when you look at how you've overcome all of the things that have been obstacles in your life to be where you are, how did you do it?
Well, I'm grateful for so many people. I think every stop along the way, and I've been in a lot of places, I've had a mentor of some sort that I could count on, who could guide me, who could give me counsel, and if not for them, I'm thinking of a Tom Jernstedt, who used to run the NCAA men's basketball championship, or Kevin White, certainly, who was at Notre Dame, who's now at Duke. Those people provided me some guidance to say, you can do this in this profession. You can dream big. I'll never forget Kevin, when he recruited me to Notre Dame, just saying, Bernard, if you want to be an AD, you have to come here, and you've got to learn, and you got to jump out. And he was right. And I'm fortunate for having those opportunities be presented, being comfortable in my own skin. Many a times I might be the only African-American in the room, but I knew I was capable and confident, and I'd learned so much from others that I felt like I could make a difference. And, now, having this conversation with these student athletes, I know I need to do even more. And so hopefully I can make even a greater difference for some time to come.
And mentors, obviously, so critical. There's also an element, I'd imagine, for you, mentoring within your own home. In your statement, what struck me very poignantly was you said, quote, "My oldest daughter, a graduate from Stanford, with tears in her eyes, fearful of what the future may hold for her." What have those conversations been like within your own four walls?
Yeah, there's been quite a few, as you can imagine. And I remember when the movement was going around this country and we started to see the protesting, and my daughter, who's finishing up her degree at Stanford, doing it virtually, just like her classmates, she came out of her room and she was crying, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I just can't talk, but this is really disturbing. And so then we paused. My youngest daughter, who's about to be a junior in high school, we had conversations. We talked about, here's what we're experiencing. I can explain to you the fear of so many, especially African American males, and encountering the police. Let me tell you what I've been through, and so it created an open dialogue. And there was a lot of, since then there's been many other follow-ups as we've been watching and turning on the news every morning. But yet I think it's been healthy, and I know she's visiting with her classmates, and I know they've had great dialogue, and they're not afraid to speak up. And that's the one thing that we've said is, like, you can make a difference even from the place where you are, and now I know she wants to be out and trying to she started her own little clothing line, and it's about feed love and it's the expression of love. And so yeah, that can make a difference for some people, and so don't hesitate to go out and do that.
I just need to give a shout out to your daughters, because they're absolutely incredible. Libby is, as you mentioned, about to graduate. She played lacrosse. And then Millie, who's going to be a junior, she's already committed to Duke to play volleyball as a,
thank you.
college. So just you're raising, you and your wife Liz are raising two incredible, powerful women. You said something too that I want to ask you about. I feel like there's a lot more people that are having way more dialogues than they've ever had in the past. And I think that's part of the reason that I think a lot of people feel like this movement is a little bit different than other movements we've seen in the past.
Right.
Would you agree with that? And if so, why do you think that is?
It sure feels that way right now, but I think the proof is going to come in the next few weeks, the next few months. Are we going to continue this dialogue? I know I was on a conversation with our Black staff and earlier this week, and coaches. And we just said, if we're going to make a difference, we've got to continue this. This can't be just I said to our student athletes, this can't be one and done. And so we've got to be having repeated conversations. We got to think outside the box of how we can reach others. I've said this to all of our coaches, not just our African-American ones. We said, we can't be afraid to have a dialogue. And none of us know what to say in the moment, but we can't be shy away from conversation. And I think that's occurring. I know this is occurring across all of our teams. I've heard back from student athletes and from all walks, and they've said, thank you for encouraging that conversation. Now more's to come. And so we'll see what happens, like I said, in the months ahead. And hopefully, I know our student athletes, I know our coaches will hold us accountable, which I think is a great thing. And I know, if we look even broader, I hope our politicians are held accountable. I hope our municipalities are held accountable, because that will promote meaningful change.
That's so well said. I think back to like when I played, or even when you played, like college athletes were afraid to speak to a degree, because you're like, I want to keep myself in line with the program. I want to position myself for the pros or for a job. I feel like athletes now, they want to have a voice, maybe just as much as we wanted to, but now they have the platforms. How are you talking to them about embracing that and utilizing that moving forward?
That's great. A great question. And that's something that has come up on our calls. We're getting, we know next week on our things to do list, we want to get our external relations team with our student athletes to hear from them as to how they want to present their voice. We've had many of our teams come out with statements since this incident in Minneapolis occurred. We're proud of them for doing that, taking a stand, and we want to encourage more of that. We've talked about having individual student athletes present their reflections. Let's put that out there. And we can't censor them. It needs to be authentic. And so we want to promote that. And they do have a platform. I think to your point, Yogi, they understand that now more than ever. And so we want to help foster that and promote that because, they have a lot to say and something that we should listen to.
Bernard, a lot of recent momentum on college campuses around making Election Day this year. It's November 3rd, a mandatory day off for student athletes to ensure that they're able to exercise their right to vote. What's your thought on that? And have you guys had some conversations around doing something like that at Stanford?
Yeah, we have. And I think it's a great movement. I think I know that there's many, I think it started in the college basketball community. They started the discussion. We would jump on that.